Hello, and welcome to Drift Radio. This is the second chapter of Aim4Game. And to those who doesn't know my show, or doesn't know me, it's a show about video games and the music produced for the games. And welcome to you, Laura.
Thank you.
I have invited you today partly because you are also an awesome gamer and really like some awesome PlayStation games. But also you have produced some music for a game that was released on Edge, which we're going to talk about a bit later. Yeah, I will guide you through some different game categories and different game genres. And today it will mainly be Laura's suggestions. And we will start with open world games. So that's a genre I know that you really like. So maybe you can explain us a bit why you find this game genre especially nice.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that open world is games that has like a more non-linear progression in the gameplay, which means that you can quite early in the game you can explore very big areas of the game. You can take on different kinds of side missions and stuff. And you don't necessarily have to follow like a storyline from the beginning, but there can still be like a storyline. And then as you like progress, you will still unlock new areas in the game. But you have a lot of open world to explore, and And to me, that's really a really nice and very like engaging way for the player to like get into a game universe, or like finding kind of your own thing that you like to do. Maybe you like to like explore caves, and that can take a lot of time in itself. Or maybe you like to just run around and loot stuff, and I think it's very it's really calming for me to do that kind of gaming, actually.
So it's like almost a bit like an adult playground, you could
kind
say.
of that you're just very free, like to do like the missions and the stuff in your own like way and your own order, I think.
Is the storyline in a game, is that important to you, or does it depend on what type of game genre you would play?
It depends, a lot. I think storyline can be really, really important and mean a lot for a game. But I think it's important to look at what kind of game, as you say, that you're playing, and also look at what is the focus of this game? Because in some games they have maybe focused on making good combat, or in some games they have like been focusing on maybe the aesthetics of the game more than like the story. So it doesn't always play a very big role, but I mean, I really appreciate when it does also, but I also appreciate other kinds of focuses in the game. I think
I would suppose also, I mean, I personally really like racing games, but I mean, I also really appreciate a nice game with a good storyline. And I mean, racing games, they don't have much storyline, but it can still be a great game and very fun to just watch a car that you have to control on a field and be the first winner.
It gets you like into different kinds of moods and states, I think, depending on the game.
And you have brought two games where you said you really like the scenery and the music that was composed for the games.
Yes.
Maybe you can introduce us a bit to the games.
Yes. So the first game I have brought is The Witcher Wild Hunt, and it's a very popular game. it's from 2015, and it's by CD Projekt, which is from Poland. And I think they have done a really amazing job making a super nice open world RPG game. And they have it's based on some I think it's some Slavic mythology actually. So it's the music is really it's reflecting this kind of folklore ism that I think it's a big part of the music and the story in the game. So I've brought a theme from that game that I will play now. Yes. So it's a very the whole game is very thematic. There's a lot of themes that I think it amplifies the game and the vibe of the game, and you have a lot of different areas and sceneries that has its own music and its own theme. So I think it fits very well. I'll just play another one, and it's very, I think, very folklore inspired style. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some folklore open world game. You brought another game called Elden Ring, and I personally never played it myself, but I really like to watch other people playing games. So I watched almost an hour of the gameplay on YouTube the other day.
I like that too.
It's a very nice game to watch. Very beautiful scenery.
Yes, it's Elden Ring is a very new game. It's from 2022. And yes, as you say, like the aesthetics is really, really, really beautiful in this game, I think, and very coherent, like throughout the whole game. And comparing to Witcher 3, it's I would say it's a step up in difficulty. It's a really, really hard game. But compared to like older games from Software who made this game, it's actually a more accessible game. But compared to Witcher, it's a much harder game. You don't have as much given story. You don't have so many missions that is given to you. You just have to kind of figure out yourself how to like traverse this very, very, very big world and explore it, and in the end become the Elden Lord. And yeah, so it's harder to figure out how to get through the game. It's also harder to fight. And I mean, I was told it took 10 hours just to get into the game before you like kind of even get anything. And I was actually really mad in the beginning because I couldn't figure it out at all. Yeah, but it's a really, 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 really nice game.
You said there was a lot of boss fights as well.
Yes, I mean that's like kind of their thing. The game's thing is that they have focused on making like so many super nice boss fights, and it's very like it's not very mechanical. It's very dynamic the way you fight and the way the bosses are like differently programmed, and they're very individual. So you really have to take your time to like get into how you're gonna defeat each and every boss in the game. And they keep like making it a challenge throughout the entire game. And I really like that they keep up the difficulty the entire way. Yeah.
It sounds like a game I would hate to play, honestly.
I think many people would actually, because as there is no like guidance, and there is no like missions or quest log that you can go to get help. Like you really have to take your time to get how you will complete it. Yeah.
I think the problem for me is when a game gets too difficult, I'm just losing my patience so much. Yeah. And maybe it also comes from like why you like to play games, because for me it's a bit like people who like to watch reality TV when they are hungover or very tired. Yeah. And I feel a bit the same with gaming. So if it's too difficult, then I lose a bit my patience, and then I start doing something else.
Yes, I totally wouldn't recommend this game for you, because you have to be very patient, and some bosses you have to maybe try them like 50 times before you at least before you get it. So you have to be very patient, and persistent if you want to like go all the way.
It somehow reminds me a bit of Shadow of Colossus for PlayStation 2. Yeah. It's a bit old game, but that was also like very beautiful scenery, and then it was just pure boss fights all the time, and that's the whole game. It's kind of like an open world, but then you just fight a huge boss, and that's it.
That's it, yeah. And it's like it's really a style. I think if you're used to like Witcher or Assassin's Creed or other open world games like that, then you really have to like take your time to get into this kind of game. I would say, you have to be patient and give it a chance. Yeah. But in terms of the music, it's I think it's actually really emphasizing this feeling of being kind of lost in a very big world and kind of trying to figure out your way through the whole thing. It's much less thematic than Witcher is. It's much more like ambient inspired, and much more, I don't know, kind of Nordic also in its way. So yeah, I think that's a big difference in the music in the two games. And also, maybe I can say that after, but I will play it one of the tracks now.
Nice. So it's like a bit more ambient.
Yes,
folklore.
and also like I think the whole game is just it's more dark than The Witcher. Like they have a lot of more light and humoristic elements, and this game is very dark. And I think also one of the big differences in these games are like The Witcher has actually a really big storyline still, and which makes you have to like engage in like the characters and in the story and in the conversations and in your main character. You get a closer relationship to your main character, and I think also the music is helping that. Like the Witcher, the themes that you have for like each situation that your character is in. Compared to this, which is, as you can hear, yeah, it's much more ambient. It's much more like the confusion about what do I do now? Where do I go? Yeah, so the music is really helping like that feeling in this game, I think.
I think the music matters a lot to a game for the whole gameplay, and it's also like on a bit more abstract level, but certain sounds also sounds a bit more like clue solving or scary, or I think it really matters a lot to a game.
Definitely.
The next genre you introduced me to the other day is indie games, which I'm not super familiar with, but we might have played some of the same games. But maybe you can explain why you like the indie genre, and like how is the colors and the music special for these type of games?
Yeah, so like so the indie genre, it's like that means that it's often like smaller companies who has developed and made the game. Like sometimes even maybe just a handful of people doing an entire game, and that often makes the games like very. You can feel that it's driven by passion. So a lot of the games has like some very specific focuses. Like maybe they want some very specific aesthetics or a very specific kind of gameplay to engage you in. And also you can feel, I think, that it's not driven by money in some way, not to like talk trash about the big companies, because they also really guarantee you a really good made game. But sometimes I think there can be some elements of like they also have to make money on the game. There can be maybe paywalls on some areas in the game, or specific weapons or stuff like that. And I think the indie games, they don't have that kind of similar elements. So they are very driven by passion and very specific in some very specific
and
things.
Smaller production team, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we talked about this game called Limbo. It's a Danish produced game, and he was your when you made the music for the game. He was kind of your coach.
Yes, he's called Martin Stig Andersen, and he made the music for Limbo and also Inside, which is a similar game to that. And he was our mentor in the game I made. And he talked a lot about like the modern way of producing the music is also very much to make the music interactive. To blend music with sound design also, so it doesn't have to be necessarily like big epic tracks. It can be more smaller parts of music or sound that is being used. And then he just explained about like how he worked and how you could do that, how you can make it interesting and interactive. Like for example in Inside, he made like the boys' breathing different to where in the game he was. So for example, if he was scared, then he was breathing very light and so on. That's just a little thing that you can do to engage the music in what you do as a player.
I can recall that from playing Limbo.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce us a bit to the game that you made the music for?
Yes, I can.
I'm very interested in how the music, what kind of elements you focused on when you had to make music for a game.
Yeah, so the game we made was called Haifa, and it was supposed to be in a eco-futuristic setting. It was a third-person shooter game, so the music had to be very action-packed and very intense. And we had 3 levels, so I was trying to make each level different in intensity compared to the music, and also change the intensity of the music compared to your actions in the game. So for example, if you were in stealth mode, the music had to be very minimal, and if the enemies were aware of your presence, then the music would change to something more tense, like you're almost about to be discovered. And then when you're in combat, the music would be very action-packed, and so on. Yeah. So yeah, that was our main focus, to try to make it responsive to the gameplay. Yeah.
I suppose you have to cooperate very closely with the developing team.
Yeah.
So the music will follow all the different obstacles and things you go through.
Yes, very much, and also try to, like, you have a specific software where you also try to make the music non-repetitive, so you can do some things to, like, I think that was the hard part, at least, to like make it change all the time without being big changes, but also without being repetitive. So that was something I really learned from, like, making our own game. Also, yeah.
Did you bring some music from the game?
Yes, I can
really love to
show
hear
you some. Okay, I will try to show you some of there's a loop from the combat music first. Very short, but
it's very action-based.
Yeah.
I think it fits quite well to a third-person shooter. Somehow it reminds me a bit of Doom Eternal.
Yeah. Yeah, it had that.
So this like Slayer, you're just gonna smash a lot of demons in front of you, shoot a lot of monsters.
That was exactly what you had to do. Just run and shoot. And
That's perfect. Also, according to, like, sometimes the storyline is not that important. Like, Doom is one of the most popular games in the world, one could say, and it really doesn't have a complicated storyline. I mean, the person, the actor or the person you play is just called Doom Guy, and he doesn't even have a name. And then you just get out, and then you just have to smash a lot of demons and I guess save the world from the devils.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But again, it's like, if that's like the focus of the game, it can be like super fun and interesting, I think. Yeah.
It's a bit like, I guess it's a bit like an action movie. It also doesn't have the greatest story, but it's just great to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And then you brought another game in the indie genre called Soma.
Yes.
Which is also a horror game. And again, like, I watched the gameplay, but I'm really way too scared to play horror games. Like, I can't really. I like to watch other people playing the games, but I get too scared if I have to navigate in this, like, scary nightmare world.
I felt like that in the beginning as well. So yeah, I get it.
And how? What is the nice thing about a horror game and Soma specifically?
I mean, as you say, it's really demanding actually to play a horror game. Like, you can't just relax and chill and play it. You have to, like, be aware all the time, and I really didn't like that in the beginning because it was so tense all the time. But then I kind of got used to it because I played a lot of Resident Evil games, and you just have to be. I was just getting intrigued actually by how you could. Like, I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know how I could, like, progress in these areas and these kinds of games. And I think Soma is just like a really like, it's a super interesting storyline actually, like very philosophical in a way, and the music is very like. I think modern in a way, but I know the guys who made it, they've like used a lot of field recordings of water and so on. It's like a lot of it is underwater. So like, just like the aesthetics of the game is just super cool, I think, and interesting, and they fit very well together. All the parts of this game. Yeah.
It seems like the sounds also very intense.
Yeah.
Which I guess matters a lot in a horror game because the whole idea is to be scared, and that makes you excited.
It's so true. Like both music, but also like the absence of music, like the silence in a horror game. It can really be killing you. And like also Resident Evil, they have like safe rooms where you're safe, and they always have their own song. And like it's just the feeling when you're safe and you've just been running around like a crazy, and you hear that song. It's so like
your brain can relax again.
Yeah. So the music matters a lot, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I can play you some ambience, like from Soma. Like again, it's a lot of spooky ambience in the game, because a lot of the time you are exploring and like kind of trying to avoid some of the enemies that you haven't seen yet catching you. So you don't really know what's after you. You just know that there's something out there. Kind of, yeah. That's super tense.
Mm-hmm. Scary.
Yes.
It reminds me also a bit of Mick Gordon, who produced the music for Doom Eternal. It's also a bit the same kind of mysterious, dark ambient.
It's very dark, and it's very ambient, and it's also, as I said before to you, you can't really fight in this game. You can only like sneak or escape. And I think Frictional, who made it, they have specialized kind of in that kind of mechanic to me. That's just super creepy.
I think also in a horror game it makes it more scary that you can't really see what's happening.
Yeah.
In a lot of horror games you have this kind of like tunnel view where you really have to like turn the character around in order to like see what's happening on the sides, and then there's a lot of like noises around you.
Yeah,
That's
they really activate
cool.
your senses in a way, and you have to use all your senses
That's nice.
to play it.
Yeah, I never really managed to finish a horror game, but I was watching people playing horror games, and I think it's produced for PlayStation 3. It's a game called Siren Blood Curse. Also very scary game, Japanese horror game. And I found this intro melody from the game where they use this traditional Asian instrument that also has this very ancient, mysterious sound. I think the soundtrack portrays the game very well, how like mysterious, weird it is when it comes here. Also a very mysterious soundtrack. I remember the game is especially very scary because, I mean, you have this tunnel view, but also when these like mysterious creatures or zombies are close to you, you kind of see yourself from their eyes, and then you can hear your own heartbeat. So it's like looking for the warmth of your body, and it feels very, very intense.
Yeah, I also think a lot of horror game uses like heartbeat sound actually to, because it's just the most like intense feeling when you can feel your own heartbeat, and So
I tried for a month ago. My friends invited me to virtual reality, and we had to play a game that was a zombie game. So it really, it was, especially for a person who doesn't like horror games, you really feel like you're in there, and then you turn around and there's just a zombie, like, eating your intestines. And I don't know, I think whole Nørregade could hear me shouting, and it was very embarrassing.
But that's really intense.
That was very intense, and I was very relieved that the game was only 20 minutes, because that was next level intensity.
It's too much for me also with the VR and the horror combined.
So how, I mean, I personally grew a bit up with video games because I had a dad who loved video games and a mom who hated it. And then it was a bit like he joined the kids side and played video games. And I think we kind of started with playing computer games, and then I would watch him play like Tomb Raider or some other computer games, and then we got a PlayStation 2, and then we started playing different like PlayStation games, both together and also just watching. I like to watch him play different games, like horror games or shooting games. But did you also grow up with video games or console games?
Yes, I had first I had a Game Boy, and I played Pokemon and Harry Potter, I think, stuff like that. Very old school stuff. And then also I got a PlayStation 2, I think, and just played all the classical games on that.
Would you play with other kids as well, or was it mainly like your own thing?
Actually, it was very much my own thing because I don't know if my parents was not like really so much into it, and it's actually first when I got like older that I did the thing with like playing together with people and watching other people play. So I think when I was younger, it was just a world that I could get into and go into like on my own, actually, and explore on my own. Yeah.
I think it's also most kids on our generation had a Game Boy.
Yeah.
My problem was just that I got a bit too angry, and then I would break my own Game Boy, and then I wouldn't have a Game Boy anymore. And then I would complain to my parents, like, "I'm sorry, I dropped it." And actually I just smashed my own forehead into my PlayStation and broke the screen.
Oh no.
So yeah, I'm normally not really an angry person, but when it comes to games I can get very aggressive.
Me too. I mean
almost sad.
Yeah, and still like I can be so into it that I can get angry as well in that situation.
I think it's also because you really feel like if you have a boss fight and you really have to beat that character, and you just go over and over again, and it just feels like such a big failure when you really can't beat that character in the game. And somehow, I mean, it's not really real, but it just feels like, you get so angry about it, so frustrating.
Yeah, and I have to say Elden Ring is actually one of the most, like when you maybe have tried like a boss 60 times, and you like, he has like maybe just this small amount of life left. I mean, your heartbeat is really like pumping because you're so close to reaching your goal, and like the payoff of winning those fights, they are so, they're really big. But I like that kind of intense gaming actually as well. Yeah.
So enough of the complicated games. I think we should talk about Stray, which is also an indie game, and I have to say, from watching the gameplay, it's one of the cutest games I've seen in a long time. And I don't know if it's like a kid-friendly game or it's an adult game, but I think it's very sweet to make a game in like an animal's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you first say it to people, like I've played this cat game and it's super fun, people be like, it sounds a bit boring, but I mean, as you say, the game is just super cute. The aesthetics is so nice. It's like in a kind of futuristic, but it's still old kind of city environment, and you're a cat who has lost like your cat friends, and you just you have to like figure out how to find them, and you meet a lot of machines. There's no humans left, they're machines. So yeah, and and the music and the graphics of that game is just like really, really beautiful. I think it's so like they really made a nice concept, and they took on a job on making like you can like engage in like doing cat stuff with your character. Like the cat will like knock off a plant from the table just because that's cat does those kind of things. Yeah, so I think it's just a super fun and cute idea to make a game about a cat. Yeah,
seems like a very interactive game as well.
Yeah, and it's also really new. It's from 2022 as well. So yeah, I think that's what a lot of the good indie developers does. They make them super both fun and interactive, as you say, and like they really try to like engage the player and make it responsive in a lot of great ways, I think. Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna play that game. It's also beautiful graphics.
Yeah,
looks very nice.
Yes, but I will play something from it.
Has a very good progression within the track.
Yeah.
I suppose it fits very well to that type of game.
Yeah, as you say, it's like it really fits to this kind of curious little cat exploring this lost city. It has this kind of mellow and weird kind of electronic vibe, and it just
melancholic.
But melancholic, because you've lost your friends. So yeah, I'll play one more from that game.
Also definitely a very progressive, interactive soundtrack. We don't have so much time left, so I will go to the last game category, which is my music-wise, my personal preference, because I really enjoy racing game music, and it feels very great to just race in a car to some nice drum and bass or trance music. I played one track last time from this guy called Cold Storage, and he produced music for a racing, futuristic spaceship racing game called Wipeout. And I think I will actually end the show with one of those, because they are really good, and I really like tracks where a lot of things are going on all the time.